Hey everybody, Celestia here. I'm gonna give you a little patch notes rundown and give you my thoughts on it and see what it's and hopefully what it's gonna do to the meta. Overall, I think these are mostly good changes. The only thing I worry about is some things might be a little too much, and I have to wait till it comes in the game before we actually know that. Anyway, let's get into it. First one is Tenetix. Like all the splatter shots have the base damage decreased by 1 point. All this really does is make it so stacking defense up against them is it makes it easier to increase the shots required to kill to 4. So I'm guessing it's like 2 mains now instead of, or like one less main's worth or something like that. Well, it'll have to be tested. NZAPs both get increased walk speed by 11% when firing. That'll be good for those weapons. They're already pretty fast, and now Sanic builds are gonna be a little bit better on them as well. Splashamatics, they both get their damage increased by 2 points. It makes it harder for defense ups to increase those weapons to 5 shots, which is good for them. Splattershot Pro decreased ink usage by about 5%. I don't know how good this is going to be because 5% seems really, really small compared to how big the problems with ink efficiency this weapon has. Well, it'll have to be seen, but I don't think this is enough for the weapon, especially when you factor in another nerf that's coming in later. Dual Squelcher increased walk speed by 20% when firing. This is a really big number. And I'm wondering if the number is based on what its current speed is, or if it's like a 20% in addition to like additive 20% rather than multiplicative. That'll be interesting to find out. But yeah, dual squelchers are going to be much more mobile, and it'll be good. Jet squelchers get increased ink efficiency, pretty much the same percentage as the Splattershot Pro, and it didn't have as much problems with ink efficiency as the Pro, so this is probably better for that. But it's probably not going to be too noticeable. L3 nozzle nose increased turf coverage by about 10%. It's good for this weapon because it really needs to get specials more often for it to be viable. And, obviously increase 10%. That essentially means you're going to get 10% more specials as long as you're not shooting turf you've already covered. H3 nozzle nose increased range by about 15% and increased turf coverage by about 15%. So this weapon obviously has not been very favored because it's really weak. It requires you to have the jump on a person and them to not be moving for you to reliably get kills. Like you can still get kills without it, but it's rather hard to do. So what they're doing is they're just making it good in other ways by increasing the range and the turf coverage to hopefully counteract the fact that it has a hard time against good people. I don't know that it's gonna make it good enough. I think it's probably still gonna be pretty low, on the good to bad tier list, but we'll see how it turns out. And here's a big change: the blasters. Decreased maximum blast wave damage from 125 to 80. Set the limit for maximum blast wave damage to 100, even with gear that increases damage. So what this means is, if you are running a blaster, you can no longer stack damage up to get kills. You have to get a direct hit in order to get the kill. And this 100 means that they could run literally one sub of defense up, and that'll stop you from getting any kills that aren't direct hits. Like you have to hear the sound in order for you to get the one hit kill. I don't know, like this is mostly going to be good against Luna Blasters because they kind of relied heavily on getting direct hits occasionally, because the blast radius was just so big that it was actually rather easy to get the one hit kill, even if you didn't get the direct hit. As far as range blasters and regular blasters, this isn't as big of a deal. It still hits them a bit, but it's not gonna, most of them didn't even stack that much damage in the first place, so they won't notice it too bad. But Luna Blaster is really gonna feel it. Rapid Blaster Deco, Rapid Blaster, and Bomb Rush. Wait. Bomb Rush doesn't make sense there, but anyway. Increase the fire rate from 20.28 to 0.20 when firing from squid state. Decrease recovery time after firing from 0.43 to 0.33 seconds. So it's essentially a little more mobile. I don't know if it's enough, but mobility helps. It probably won't make it any better, like much or any better than it currently is, but I'll have to see it in game. Rollers, another big change. Adjusted the splash damage. Players can only splat their opponents in one hit with the center of the roller. Opponents cannot be splatted in one hit when player is out of ink, and balance the amount of damage given when the roller is repeatedly swung. So, this first one here, it's really hard to say how big this nerf is without seeing it in game. And if it's really like the center of the roller, or if it just means like the edges of it don't kill, it's like it'll, you know, there's gonna be good rollers that are still gonna do really well, but there's gonna be a lot of rollers that were being carried by the fact that they didn't have to aim that are gonna be hurt by this. And it depends on how much like where the radius is for a kill. It like where is the radius for a kill? We need to figure that out, and you know Tuesday we'll figure it out. Opponents cannot be splatted in one hit when players out of ink. That's a good change. It should have been in there in the first place, but hey, they got it. Balance the amount of damage given when the roller is repeatedly swung. I don't think this is a huge impact for the regular rollers, but I think that's going to be a big, like a much bigger change for the Dynamo roller. And then Dynamo increase the amount of time needed before ink begins filling after swinging the roller. So it's less ink efficient and doesn't benefit as much from ink recovery. And the calculation method for when roller is repeatedly swung, I'm assuming this means that if you're swinging over a zone and there's somebody sitting there and you're hitting them with like one little blot every time from the falling damage, I think they'll receive reduced damage over many swings, and you know, it'll mean that the Dynamo isn't quite as good at suppression as it currently is. So it'll be different. It like Dynamo. It sounds like from all these roller changes that the Dynamo is the one that's going to be hit the hardest, but it also could hit the Carbon roller pretty bad too. I think Splat Roller and Crack-On are mostly going to be unchanged, except Crack-On's got a whole nother change that's coming in, so that one might be toast. Ink Brush Nouveau decreased the ink usage by 10% when players are running while inking. Nobody runs while inking, so this is pointless. The range E-Leaders. This is another big one. The range of damage that can be done to opponents without fully charging the weapon has been adjusted to 40 to 100. It was previously 40 to 120. What this means is if you don't have any damage, you have to do a full charge to kill a person. And then if you're running damage, it takes much more of your charge in order to get that minimum amount for a kill. So basically, E-Leader is no longer E-Leader and Squiffer at the same time. It is now E-Leader. This is what it should have been in the first place, and this change is really necessary. And I can't wait to see this in game, because I'm hoping it's as big as I think it is. I'm really excited for it, because this means E-Leaders aren't going to be like the best decision when it comes to picking a charger. You can actually, you know, the splatter scopes are more viable, and it's not just because of picking, like, you don't just pick splatter scopes because of Bomb Rush or Killer Whale now. You can pick splatter scopes because they're actually better for the map, because E-Leader is playing the way it's intended to be played. Bamboozler decreased ink usage by about 12.5%. It kind of had some ink efficiency problems, especially when you factored in splash balls, so this will help a little bit. I don't know that it's going to make it like top tier right away. People still need to get good with this weapon before it's going to be a top tier weapon, but it's very good, and this is definitely a helpful little buff. I'm excited for it because I like the Bamboozler. Mini Splatling. Shorten the amount of time needed to charge the first charge level from 0.33 seconds to 0.30 seconds. Shorten the amount of time needed to charge from second charge level from 0.5 seconds to 0.45 seconds. So this is a very minor change. That the weapon was already very quick with charging. I'm not sure why they even did this change, to be honest. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the mini splatling, so these are nice little buffs. I can't wait for the zinc mini splatling, by the way. That one's gonna be a fucking good weapon. Oops. Heavy splatling decreased ink usage by 10%. It's really needed because that weapon is extremely ink inefficient. So this is a very, very helpful buff for that weapon. Slosher and Tri-Slosher increased damage against Rainmaker shields by about 33%. I don't know. I don't play Sloshers enough to really know if they had problems against Rainmaker shields, so I don't. I'm assuming this is just to make these weapons better in Rainmaker. It's a whatever change. I don't think it's gonna make the weapons higher or lower on any tier list. So, hey, it's cool. Point sensor increase the radius of the area that affects enemies by 17% and decrease the duration from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. So the decreased duration hurts a little bit, but it really doesn't matter because you're never like the full duration isn't what makes the point sensor good. It's the fact that you're tagging people in a large radius, and it's even larger now. So I think point sensors are going to see more use. Splash Ball lowered the resistance against opponents' attacks by 40%. Increased the amount of time required to begin recharging ink after throwing this weapon from 1.33 seconds to 2.67 seconds, so essentially double. All right, Splash Balls. They are extremely prevalent in the meta. I'm sure everybody is aware of this by now. They're very, very good. And I've been very vocal about the fact that I believe the nerf that was necessary was increased time for it to activate after throwing it, but that's not what they went with. They went with weakening the wall and making it so you're punished harder in your ink if you throw one. So like 2.67 seconds is a really long time to not get any ink back, especially when they lower the resistance of the shield by 40%. This essentially means that like a single suction bomb is gonna pretty much take care of it. Like it might be like a suction bomb plus a couple shots from a 10 attack or something like that. So I'm really, really worried that they nerfed it too hard. And yeah, this changed. Like Splash Balls needed a nerf. Let's all be honest here. But I'm worried that this isn't the right nerf. I think they might have gone too far. And if it's what I think it is, Splash Balls might pretty much be done. And any weapon that I'm worried that it's going to become the Ink Strike of sub weapons after this nerf. It's possible that it's not as big as I'm thinking it is, but I'm pretty worried. Like Splash Balls, they're too strong as they are now, but I think they're important for the game. They add a lot of strategy into team play, and yeah, I'm just worried that this is too much. Anyway, special weapons. Inksuka decreased the fire rate from a maximum cooldown of 0.55 seconds to 0.92 seconds. Adjustments were made so the target displays consistently. So you're essentially going to get a little more than half the shots, probably like 4 or 5 instead of 6 or 7. I'm not sure why they did this to Inksuka, because I'm pretty sure Inksuka was in a pretty good spot. It was maybe a little good, but not so much that you needed to nerf it this hard. It's still going to be good, because really you only need 2 or 3 shots for an Inksuka to be worth it. It's just in addition to the last nerf with, increased amount of points to get it in the first place, and now you only get like 4 or 5 shots total out of it. It'll be tough to see. I think Inksuka is going to be pretty mid-tier as far as specials go. And Kraken, here's another big one. Increase the amount of turf needed to be inked for filling the special gauge from 180 points to 200 points, so that's pretty good nerf. And then added a period of 0.75 seconds before players can attack again after using Kraken. This means that rollers that Kraken in and go ham can't just like jump out right as they end Kraken and one-shot you, even though they should be at a disadvantage because they didn't kill you with your Kraken. But, this is a pretty specific case scenario. Like, it's a good nerf, but I don't think it's the biggest one. I think the biggest one is this one, which is increase the area that Kraken takes damage according to the size of its body. And if this is what I think it is, which I think it means that the hitbox for knocking back a Kraken is bigger. If this is what I think it is, I think this means that Krakens are like pretty much going to be useless against weapons that can shoot quickly. I'm partially hoping for this, and I'm hoping that it's not too much at the same time. What this means is that you can shoot at a Kraken and actually keep it away from you rather than having to run away like you currently do. When they made that nerf with the knockback, with the first patch or something, and then didn't touch Kraken since then, even though that nerf didn't really do anything to the Kraken. And then this, I think, was the next step. I'm pretty sure this means that you're going to be able to hold back a Kraken with like a 10 attack or something like that pretty easily. And if that's true, Krakens are going to be way less prevalent. Like currently you see like 2 to 3 a game like on each team in competitive play. And this might mean that you much more rarely see it. I think with this and the Splash Wall nerfs, 96 Gal Deco is going to be way less common. Way, 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 way less common. It'll be hard to say because like you actually have to see those two changes with the Splash Wall and the Kraken in game before we'll know. But yeah, these nerfs, they could be really, really big. Rank battle adjustments. The leading team's special gauge will gradually charge when the counter for both teams is stopped. The special gauge will charge faster when the counter is active. Yeah, that just means like both teams get special charge when nobody has the zone, which is, I don't know. I guess they just want the games to move faster. Tower control, the special gauge will automatically charge gradually for the team that has control of the tower, regardless of who has the lead. I'm not sure I agree with this. This mode is already very special heavy. Whatever. When neither team has the Rainmaker, I assume this is an error, but the special gauge will automatically charge gradually for the losing team. Cool. Decrease the speed at which the special gauge automatically increases. This was huge because I don't know if you guys watched our our matches against Divine Wind for Inkstorm, but the last game, right at the end of the game, there was like 5 Krakens plus 2 bubblers on a tower and overtime. And that's not the first time something like that's happened. There's just too many specials in tower control. It's kind of silly how many specials you get in tower control, and it kind of makes the game mode a little less competitive just because it's like so swingy. Like you'll get a push and then they'll get all their specials and they'll get a push and then you get all your specials and they'll get a push or you'll get a push. It's very, yeah, it was very, swingy, and it wasn't great. But this change probably is going to help a little bit. Increase the amount of knockback when players using Bubbler or Kraken are hit from above or below. It's a pretty good change. That means like maps like Arrow on a Mall, you can shoot from above and actually knock people off of the tower. Change the way which Splash Ball bounces when thrown against the top of the pillar in the tower in order to increase the difficulty to place Splash Balls on the tower while riding the tower. So I don't know that I particularly care about this because it doesn't sound like it affects when you like jump off the tower and throw a Splash Ball from there, and that's what I usually do. It sounds like this is mostly going to affect people that like bank their walls off of other walls. I don't know. I don't know that it was a necessary change, but hey. Adjustments to calculation method for ranking. I don't particularly care about this. The gist of it is it's a little bit easier to rank up in S and S Plus, which I don't necessarily agree with. I liked it being hard, but whatever. I don't really care about rank, so. Anyway, my overall thoughts is they hit all the right places. They might have just done a little too much on certain things like Ingzuka and Kraken and Splash Wall. They all needed, like, Splash Wall and Kraken definitely needed nerfs. But hopefully they didn't go too far. And E-Leader, that change is beautiful. Rollers and Blasters is going to reduce a lot of complaints that people have about no skill. Yeah, overall they're hitting all the right things, and I can't wait to see this live to test it out. I'm pretty sure you're gonna see a lot less 96 gal Dekos. You're gonna see a lot less Krakens in general. Like a lot of weapons that you currently see with Kraken probably won't be played as much. If the nerf that is listed is what I think it's gonna be. Um, you're gonna see more splashmatics and zaps and dual sculptures, and probably a few less blasters and rollers. So, overall, this is gonna be good. I can't say that I can predict like exactly where the meta will go after this, but I think defense up's gonna be more common, and I think what like weapons that have bombs are gonna be a lot more common because splash walls are gonna be countered so hard by it. Um, like splat bombs and splat bombs and suction bombs are gonna be way more common. Anyway, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was informative or helpful. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do more of this kind of thing. And yeah, catch you guys later.